Hello, and welcome to the next installment of the Andy Warhol Diary and the old Razzle Dazzle. This is your pal Mubbo here. I'm still sick, for those of you who have been keeping up. I've been sick since before Christmas, and I have this lingering cough, and it's just starting to break up, but I still have to cough every now and then, so please forgive me for that. I'll try to mute the mic if I remember. But let's get into this. We're going to look at the Andy Warhol diary, the diary entry of December 5th, 1976. It was a Sunday. But before we get into it, there are some announcements. The first one, as always, my PFA, that is a plea for assistance in the murder of my uncle, Charles Pancheri, who was found dead in his home on October 4th, 2011. He was found on the kitchen floor on Green Street in Elizabeth, New Jersey, with stab wounds. And he also, neighbors report seeing a ladder leading up to the bedroom window. Now, my uncle was in his 70s. He would have no reason to have a ladder going up to a bedroom window. So please, if you know somebody or have heard something on the streets, about a murder that took place in 2011. It is currently a cold case, but the officer that I talked to assured me that if new information were to come forward, they would gladly reopen the case. So if you have any information, please call the tip line at 908-654-TIPS. That's 908-654-8477. Or you can go to their website to submit a tip. That's www.uctip.org. uctip.org. That's unioncountytip.org for any information. I appreciate your assistance. Thank you very much. Another thing that we're going to talk about today is I put a website up on the top of the screen. It is for a digital copy of the diary. If you would like to read along with the video entry, with the diary entries that I'm doing, if you want to read it beforehand or afterwards, this is the website, and you go to this main page and you can find the full text of the diary right here. I've highlighted it for you. So be sure and do that if you'd like to read along, if you don't have a hard copy of the diary. So before we get started today, don't you just love this AI generated picture? Everybody's panicking because of the snow. So after this video, I pretty much have nothing to do for the whole day except wait for this massive storm that's supposed to happen. So I think I'm going to go and design some new thumbnails because this one is just abominable. This is one of the first ones that I made before I started including the words razzle dazzle on the thumbnails. So I think I'm going to go and do that today. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I found something pretty cool on my hard drive, something I must have grabbed a number of years ago with the intention of translating it, as the article is in Norwegian. It is in regard to my favorite painter, Odd Nerdrum, and the time that he went to go visit the Andy Warhol factory in, I'm going to say, the period between April and June of 1968. So it was about 2 months before Andy was shot. So we could see what the factory was like right before the shooting. Odd Nerdrum came to America. His birthday is in the beginning of April, and the article states that he was 24 years old at the time. So it was after his birthday in April, but before the shooting. So I think this will be interesting. I do speak a little Norwegian. I've been learning Norwegian off and on for about 15 years now. I am not fluent. So I probably grabbed this article with the envision that I was going to work on my translations, but I just never got around to it and just forgot about it. So I am going to use a translator along with my minimal skills and translate this, and we'll probably do a one-off video similar to the video I did about the shooting of Andy Warhol, which was based on an article by artist Al Hansen. So look out for that. I'm hoping to get it done pretty soon, probably not next video, but soon, hopefully before the spring. So if you're interested in that, You can check that out. So on this day, Andy went to the Players Club on Gramercy Park for a dinner with Kitty Carlisle Hart. Now, we'll get back to Kitty in a few minutes. The dinner was being given to honor Kitty for being named the new head of the New York State Council on the Arts by current Governor Hugh Carey, who's going to come up. Governor Carey had some controversy in his own life, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I think I messed this up. Hold on one second. Okay, yes. So we're going to talk about Carey in a little more detail in a few minutes, but right now we're going to talk about the Players Club. The Players Club opened in 1888, which coincidentally was the same year as the Jack the Ripper murders were occurring in Whitechapel. Located at 16 Gramercy Park South, the club was founded by Shakespearean actor Edwin Booth, and its members are granted access to Gramercy Park, and which is right here. It is one of the only private parks in New York City and one of 3 in the state of New York. There are only about 400 keys in circulation for the gates to the park, and visitors must sign them in and out. Now, if Edwin Booth's name sounds familiar, it's because he is the older brother of John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Even with his brother's bad reputation, Edwin managed to save the life of Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert Todd Lincoln. And he's right here. Look at him, the little scamp. Robert Todd Lincoln slipped into a small open space between a train and the platform as the train was beginning to leave the station. Robert Todd, the child, said he knew who Edwin Booth was because of his father's assassination, but Edwin did not realize that he had rescued Abraham Lincoln's son until he received a letter from a soldier friend who was under Ulysses Grant. And this person heard the story from Robert Todd Lincoln himself because Robert Todd had joined the military and was also serving under Grant. Edwin said he was comforted knowing that he saved Abraham Lincoln's son following the assassination. In 1888, Booth founded the Players Club, which was a private club for performing, literary, and visual artists and their supporters. Edwin had a small stroke in 1891 and another stroke a few years later. He died in June 1893 in his apartment he kept at the Players Clubhouse. His bedroom at the club has been kept untouched since his death. In December 2010, Booth's descendants said they obtained permission to exhume Edwin's body to compare DNA samples with his brother John Wilkes to refute a rumor that John Wilkes had escaped after the assassination. If you remember, the conspirators were holed up in a barn, and I believe they set the barn on fire in order to try to get the people to come out, and then they were shot or captured and executed. There were persistent rumors that John Wilkes somehow escaped, so they wanted to compare Edwin's DNA to a supposed sample of John Wilkes Booth's part of his vertebrae that is being held at the National Museum of Health and Medicine. However, this proved to be a rumor that the family never asked to compare this. However, in 2013, a spokesperson for the museum stated that they have denied all the family's requests for extracting DNA from John Wilkes Booth's remains. Now, as for Andy's dinner companion, Kitty Carlisle Hart, she was an American stage actress, opera singer, TV personality, and spokesperson for the arts. Among other roles, she played the leading lady in the Marx Brothers movie A Night at the Opera, which features one of the most well-known skits known as the stateroom scene. Are those my hard-boiled eggs? And back in the diary, Andy mentioned that this dinner he was attending looked like a stag party, except for Arlene Francis and Peggy Cass. Now, this is Arlene Francis up here, or the Arlene Francis. Arlene was an American game show panelist, actress, radio and TV talk show host, and she is best known for her long-running role on the TV game show What's My Line? What's My Line was a show that uses celebrity panelists to question contestants in order to determine their occupation. Can you imagine if that was going on today? Let's see. Is your occupation OnlyFans model? Can you imagine the questions they would be asking? The second person is Peggy Cass, born Mary Margaret Cass, and she was a Tony Award-winning actress and was also a panelist on the game show To Tell the Truth, which was another game in which you try to guess which one of three people has the occupation read out by the host. So there's one person who's telling the truth and two people that are lying. Now, if you want to learn about the ins and outs of game shows and how they work, I would highly suggest reading Chuck Barris's book, The Game Show King. Not only do I consider that to be the best book about the entertainment industry in general, but it is one of the best books I have ever written. And I'll give you one excerpt from this. Chuck was asked. Now, Chuck used to do some work on, he had the Gong Show, and he had the $1.98 beauty pageant, if you remember that, where Sandra Bernhard won one of the beauty pageants. By the way, it's good to see Sandra Bernhard out and about again. She has a role in the TV show Severance, which I was really surprised to see her pop up in that. She plays one of the nurses working for Lumen. Chuck Barris also had involvement in the Newlywed Game. Now, the Newlywed Game was known for very excitable contestants, and somebody asked Chuck Barris, how do you manage to get these contestants like so excited about the prize that they're winning? Like you want a washer and dryer, or the prize up for grabs is, a new living room set or a washing machine. And the contestants would just get so excited. And Chuck Barris said that when they were interviewing the contestants, they asked the contestants, what is the one prize that you absolutely would love to win? And then they would have all of those contestants that all wanted to win this washing machine on the show, so that they were really trying to win this washing machine. They weren't just, sitting there, hey, if I win, I win. If I don't. And you can notice somebody who's excited about winning a prize. Now, if you watch a lot of game shows, and I think one of the best examples is probably The Price is Right, because it's an hour show and you see all kinds of people coming up and winning prizes. But, occasionally you get the retiree who lives in, like Ohio, and her prize up for grabs is a new surfboard and a jet ski. And she doesn't seem excited about that at all. Or you get the little old man from Peoria who's he's a widower, and his prize up for grabs is a state-of-the-art sewing machine. And you could just tell that their minds are just working like, okay, who can I give this to? Who can I sell it to? Maybe my grandkids can help me put it up on Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, The Game Show King, definitely, if you're looking for an interesting book about the entertainment industry, definitely pick that one up. So meanwhile, back at the diary, this dinner was being given to honor Kitty for being named the head of the New York State Council on the Arts by the current governor, Hugh Carey, who we see right here. Now, Governor Carey had some controversy in his own life regarding his second marriage to Evangeline Gouletas, who was involved in a real estate company in Chicago. She was a very high-ranking real estate mogul in Chicago. Now, Hugh married Evangeline only 3 months after meeting her. Now, normally this wouldn't be much of an issue, except that Evangeline claimed that she was a widow of a single marriage, but it was confirmed on her marriage license that she had been married 3 times before, and each of her ex-husbands were still alive, as well as a daughter who Evangeline claimed was dead. This caused a problem for the governor with the Catholic Church, since he married a thrice divorced woman in a Greek Orthodox church. And Greek Greek Orthodox does not recognize a no-fault divorce. The short marriage between Hugh and Evangeline resulted in divorce in 1989, and Governor Carey felt this marriage hurt his reputation, and he described the union as his greatest failure. However, Carey's greatest achievement may be that he was the person who created the renowned I Love New York campaign. And the logo was designed by a very serious-looking Milton Glaser, a New York City graphic designer who worked with DC Comics. And he also designed the 1966 Bob Dylan poster. Throughout his career, he designed and illustrated over 400 posters. Around 1970, Glaser designed his own typeface called Glaser Stencil, which you can buy to use yourself for around $40. He also designed several other typeface, including Houdini, Rainbow, Stencil Select, Baby Curls, Baby Fat, and Baby Teeth. Meanwhile, back at the diary, Andy mentions that his doctor is at the party, Denton Sayer Cox. And Denton was able to get Andy a tour of Edwin Booth's bedroom at the Players Club, and Andy said it was musty and dusty, as it must have been in the old days. Now, Denton Sayer Cox was a prominent celebrity doctor who treated Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland, and John Steinbeck, and he focused mainly on anti-aging treatments. Now, the more I read about Denton Sayer Cox, the more mysterious he gets to me. I could not find a picture of him, and I was thinking that was kind of strange, except when you start to read about how the doctor passed away through very mysterious circumstances. He alleged that he was out on the streets of New York City, and some men pulled up to him and started assaulting him, and one of them threw an acid liquid in his face, burning, causing serious burns over a large portion of his body. However, the more that he started to talk and the more his doctors started to look at his injuries, they said that there's no way those injuries could have been caused by the way that Dr. Cox said that they were caused. Now, they believed that Dr. Cox could not have been clothed, considering where the burns were located. They think that he was unclothed and maybe in a compromising situation in his penthouse. And it was a quite embarrassing situation, maybe a homosexual tryst that went wrong, and he was trying to cover up the story. He did, however, pass away from these burns. He only survived about 10 days after receiving these injuries. And I put the full, you can read the full articles through these two links. And here's his obituary. Not even his obituary had a picture of him. None of the articles have a picture. And I think maybe the family came forward and tried to scrub the internet so that they wouldn't be identified with this this issue, this embarrassing issue, if you will. And also another thing that's interesting is that Dr. Cox was brought forward after Andy's death on malpractice charges for possibly not treating Andy properly. Now, I think that what happened is the family and the estate of Andy Warhol just cast this really wide net over everybody and anybody involved in Andy's care. There were several doctors that were also brought up on malpractice charges, and I think they were just trying to get anybody to be held responsible. However, the doctor and Andy's family, Andy's estate, settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. But if you want some interesting reading, you could check out those articles. Also, something else that's interesting is that Frank Sinatra sold his Upper East Side 3,200 square foot tri-level party penthouse to Dr. Cox in 1972. And this was actually the penthouse that Dr. Cox was assaulted in and received his injuries. It's located at 530 East 72nd Street, and we can take some take a little tour of it. And in 2015, it sold for almost $5 million. So the seller had these floating staircase put in, and I hate those things. There's no way that I would be able to walk up those stairs. I mean, I need something to hold on to. And here's a river view. And it was a very famous apartment. It had a lot of celebrity guests in there. So here's a living room, and looks like some kind of dining room. The third master suite has its own bathroom, study, and East River views, and the second floor lounge houses a wet bar, dressing room, and a terrace with a putting green. Now, I found this interesting. Now, Hart, this person, Penny Hart, listed the property unfurnished for $7.7 million. And by 2013, she had completely refurnished it and dropped the asking price to $5.5 million. Isn't it weird that she wanted to sell it for more money unfurnished, but then she furnished it completely and she dropped the price? I found that to be interesting because you figure it would be worth more furnished and completely redone, but she actually asked less money for it. So in 2015, it sold for $5 million. So it sold for less than this. So this is the building right here, and the penthouse is probably one of these two. And it's located right across the river from Roosevelt Island, which is right here, which was once used as an overflow for the prison and the Bellevue Hospital. At one time, there were 26 institutions housed on the island, including a hospital for incurables in 1866 and a smallpox hospital in 1856. And just an aside, R.I.P. Big Cat, if you know, you know. Meanwhile, back at the dinner, Andy remarked that every dish was rich and creamy, which is not what he's supposed to eat because of his gallbladder. Same, Andy. Gallbladder pain is the worst, and I have a little gallbladder issues. Mine's not completely bad, but I do have to watch what I eat. Oily foods and creamy foods definitely give me a problem. Dr. Cox said that he wouldn't watch Andy eat, so Andy could enjoy his dinner. Andy then stated he met the big handsome star of Carousel, Andy Drake. And he was also in Oklahoma, where the wind goes, wish you were the way, or however that goes. So this is Alfred Drake. And Carousel at the time was on Broadway. And so I never heard of any of these songs, but June is busting out all over. Sounds definitely interesting to me. Andy said that Kitty looked very elegant in black dress and pearls. Everyone was making speeches at the dinner, and Kitty remarked that she still wants to work a lot. And Andy remembered that Diana Vreeland said that Kitty doesn't have that much money and had to work like a word that someone would say if they wanted to get their channel shut down. And after the dinner, Dr. Cox dropped off Andy at home, and that's going to be it for this diary entry. And now we go into, let's see what happened on December 5th, 1976. Well, one of the things that happened is that Bob Marley stepped out on stage after an assassination attempt on him and others during concert rehearsals in Jamaica. So 2 days prior to this concert, he had an assassination attempt. Bob Marley performed a 90-minute set despite having been shot in the chest and the arm. All victims of the shooting survived. 7 armed men raided the residence of Bob in Kingston, Jamaica. The shooting was said to have been politically motivated, and the shooters were against the politically progressive music of Marley and reggae in general. The biopic, Bob Marley One Love from 2024, features the shooting at the start of the movie. Also on this day, O.J. Simpson, athlete, actor, and murderer, ran a 75-yard touchdown run. And that's going to do it for this diary entry today. December 6th is a longer diary entry, so it may take some time to get together. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you for watching. I appreciate every view, every like, everything. Thank you for giving this channel a chance, and I will see you in the next one. MUBBO. Snap it, pal.